guys, and welcome back to my channel. I'm MS Seymour, and today I wanted to show you a little bit of the process of how I colored this piece. So I just started out with a basic sketch, and when you're just starting out with a piece, you don't really have to worry too much about, getting everything just right, because you can always go back and adjust things, especially if you're using a digital program. In this case, I am using Procreate on my iPad, and I'm really loving it so far. But I've been doing the same thing with Photoshop for a lot of years, so it doesn't really matter what program you use. So we're just starting with finalizing the line art. So when you do this, you want to keep your basic sketch, but just turn the opacity down on it so that you can really see what you're drawing over the top. Some people like to also change the color, like make the lines pink or blue or something that's easy to see, but for me I just use gray, it doesn't really matter. So here's a good place to start putting in all your details. Adding patterns can really bring some life to your piece. For the different cloth, it can be a little bit thicker depending on the way it falls, or like the ruffles indicate it's a little bit thinner clothing. So this video was automatically recorded in Procreate. It has a setting in the app that you can turn on that will let it record as you draw, and it's pretty useful, but it does go a little bit fast. I can make it a little bit slower next time if you guys want to see something in particular, like how I color hair or something like that, then we can definitely do a more in-depth tutorial, but today I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about art in general and just my process. And if there's anything that you guys want to know more about, then you can just ask in the comment section below and I can cover it for the next video. These two guys are actually part of my ongoing comic series that I've been drawing on DeviantArt. And I've actually been on DeviantArt for about 10 years, but kind of ditched my old accounts. I don't know, if you guys are on DeviantArt too, then you probably know how it goes. When you get a little bit better, you kind of feel a little bit silly with your old artwork, so you just start a new account. There's probably tons of those on DeviantArt, but this one I just started for my comic about 2 years ago. And I feel like I've actually really progressed since then, so I would encourage you guys to keep drawing as much as you can every day, or as often as you can, because I've definitely noticed a lot more progress since I've been drawing consistently. As I was saying, these two guys are part of my comic, The Request, and I'm actually still using the references that I drew of them from a while ago, because it's been about 2 years since I created them, and they're two of the main characters. They're both dragons, so they have some special powers, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I haven't gotten a chance to introduce them in a while because unfortunately it takes a very long time to draw a comic, and I wasn't expecting that. But yeah, it takes a long time, so it's been a couple of years since I've drawn these guys, but I'm really excited that you get to see them now because they're pretty awesome and they're here to stay. So yeah. Over my finished line art, I'm increasing the shadows right here that you can see. I really encourage you guys to do this for your line art because I feel like it adds a lot of depth to the piece. This is giving the eye an indication of the actual shapes as part of the whole, and it's a lot less work for the eye to pick these things out. So yeah. It's also a good idea to add a shadow underneath your characters because that's going to give them some weight and make them feel like they're really standing there. When I just started out drawing, that was one of the things that I forgot to do a lot, so I hope that that's a good tip for you guys. And here we are jumping right into the coloring. In this case, I had my line art on a lot of different layers, so I was going in and outlining the different sections with color and then bulk filling them. Procreate is actually pretty cool because it does have a function where if you have all your line art on one layer, you can make it a reference layer and go in and drop color in. It fills it pretty nicely. But in this case, I just wanted to leave it separate. As you can see, when I'm putting the colors in at first, I'm not too terribly concerned about exactly which color I'm choosing. A really good tool to use in any sort of digital program is actually go up to the color adjust, and after you put down the base of a color, if you're not too happy with it or you want to see maybe it could be a slightly different color that you might be more pleased with, you can go into the color adjustment and use the sliders to just kind of play around with it and see if there's a color or a shade that you might like better. An easy technique for coloring that you can use on your own piece is to make a base layer and then duplicate that layer and then you can make it a slightly different color, either a little bit lighter or a little bit darker on top of it, and then just erase the parts that you want from the base color to show through with a large eraser that's sort of on a medium-ish opacity, and that's going to automatically give you that color gradient that makes it look like you put in a lot more work into the piece than you actually did. It's a really fast way to color, and I like it because it adds a little bit of depth to the piece that you don't get if you just go in and draw solid shadows over the top. As you can see, for this piece I kept it mostly cool tone, but there are a few slightly warmer accents like the reds and a little bit of the yellow, which is actually going to be more of a gold color, as you can see right here. And I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about hair as well. You can start out with a base color for the hair, and over the top of that I use the same technique that I use for all the clothing to make that gradient. And then for hair I like to add a few extra layers because that's one of the things that really brings life to your character. So you can draw in some more crisp shadows that you want to make really nice and defined. And then don't feel bad about using a lot of layers for your hair. You can just go in over the top and do another layer to gently add in some lighter areas of the hair with a kind of soft brush on a lower opacity. And then over the top of that make another layer for the more crisp highlights that you want to really stand out. In this case I do both stripes of light and also some dots of light, and I really like that effect. I feel like it makes the hair look really shiny. If you want to try it, then let me know how that goes in the comments section below. As for the background, I still wanted to keep it in the same kind of cool color range, but I didn't want it to stand out too much, so I made it a little bit more subtle colors. It's nice to add a little something to your background instead of just having it be characters, whether that's like a texture or some kind of pattern. It doesn't have to be anything extreme, but in this case I wanted to indicate the tie that these characters have to the dragons. You can see they have kind of matching horns and similar color characteristics. I had a lot of fun drawing the dragon. It really wasn't too difficult. There's a certain technique that I wanted to share with you. I added some scales for texture on the dragon because I felt like that gave it a little extra something that it was missing. For that I just used a medium hardness brush on a lowered opacity. I just stippled it, and I felt like it looked so good for the shadows that I went and I added some extra for the highlight area too. You don't have to get it too uniform because of course most scaly creatures are creatures from nature. It'll be more of a random pattern, so we just go ahead and add whatever kind of texture you feel looks best, but I felt like this was a really easy technique and it added a lot of character to my dragon. So if you want to try that out, go ahead. And of course there are brushes and things that you can download for that, and I probably have some in Photoshop, but in this case I'm using Procreate, so I don't have a lot of textures or patterns downloaded. I just have the normal brushes that it came with. You can go in and download that yourself if you want to, but I just haven't done that yet because I haven't really found ones that I like. So if you guys know any brushes or patterns in Procreate, or maybe have created your own, then sure, just let me know and I'll check them out. If you guys have any questions about art or DeviantArt or making a comic, anything like that for me, you can just leave it in the comments section below and I'll try my best to answer. And don't forget your background. You don't want to leave it really white in a piece like this because the characters have so much color on them, so I actually made it a little bit darker so they'd stand out. And a nice technique that I like to do that you can do is really easy is just go in and outline your characters. It'll separate them a little bit from the background, make them stand out. Yep, so that's it for this video, you guys. I hope you've enjoyed it, and thank you for watching, for sticking with me to the end. And if you want to see more of these process videos, I have some for my comic series, so let me know if there's a particular part of the process that you'd like to hear more about, like how I choose my layout or design my characters or add dialogue, whatever you want to know. Just leave me a message in the comments below. And don't forget to check me out on my DeviantArt account and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye!